All right, let's talk about something our bodies do every single day, something we totally take for granted: healing. I mean, it is an absolute biological masterpiece. And today, we're going to peek inside its amazing repair manual.
You know the feeling, right? You get a tiny paper cut. You maybe put a Band-Aid on it, and then a few days later, it's just gone, vanished. It feels like a magic trick, but it's not magic at all. It's this incredibly organized, step-by-step process. So, the real question is, how exactly does your body pull that off? Let's dive in.
So, at the heart of all this is one word: repair. And all that really means is the process of swapping out lost or destroyed cells for new, healthy ones. But, it's so much more than just patching a hole. Think of it like your body's own built-in maintenance program, humming along in the background 24/7, just to keep everything running smoothly.
Okay, so when you get injured, your body immediately comes to a fork in the road. It has to choose one of two paths to healing. Path number one, that's regeneration. We're talking a perfect factory reset fix. Path number two is scar formation, which is more like a really solid patch-up job. It works, but it's not quite the original. And which path it takes? Well, that all comes down to the kind of tissue that got damaged in the first place. Right, so to figure out why the body chooses one path over the other, we have to meet the team responsible for all the work. Let's call them the repair crew, and that's our cells. Turns out your body has three main types of these cellular workers, and their ability to multiply, well, that's the absolute key to understanding this whole process. Let's make this super simple with an analogy. Picture your body's cells like a workforce, right? First, you've got the crew that's on a 24/7 shift, always working, always replacing things. Then you've got your on-call specialists. They're chilling out most of the time, but they're ready to jump in at a moment's notice. And finally, you have the retired experts. They're brilliant, but they're done. Their working days are over.
Okay, let's put some real science behind that analogy. Have a look at this. First up, we've got Lebel cells. These are our 24/7 shift workers. You find them in places like your skin and your gut lining, and they are constantly dividing. Next, meet the stable cells, our on-call team. These guys are in your liver, your kidneys. They're usually in a resting state or quiescent, but if there's an injury, bam, they get the call and start dividing to fix the problem. And then we have the permanent cells, the retired experts. We're talking about your neurons, your heart muscle cells. These are incredibly important, but they don't divide. Once they're gone, they're gone.
So, keeping those cell types in mind, let's explore Path A. This is the body's absolute favorite way to heal, the perfect fix we call regeneration. It's the best-case scenario where everything goes back to exactly how it was before.
So what is regeneration? Well, it's basically a perfect replacement. The body brings in new cells that are exactly the same as the ones that were destroyed. Now, this incredible trick is only possible in tissues that have those 24/7 labile cells or the on-call stable cells. And the end result? It's like the injury never even happened. That little scrape on your skin that disappears without a trace? That's regeneration. The liver's famous ability to grow back? Pure regeneration. But what if the injury is just too big? Or what if it happens to a tissue made of those retired expert permanent cells? Well, in that case, the body can't just regenerate. It has to switch to Plan B, the patch-up job. It's time to build a scar. Now, what's so fascinating is that building a scar isn't some chaotic, messy process. It's actually a super organized four-step construction project. Step one is preparation. The body's cleanup crew comes in and clears out the debris. Step two is granulation. A soft pink temporary framework gets built to fill the gap. Step three is collagenization. This is where special cells called fibroblasts start pumping out collagen, which is basically the glue that makes the scars strong. And finally, step four is maturation, where the scar settles in, gets even stronger, and fades from pink to white.
Let's zoom in on that second step for a second: granulation tissue. You really got to think of this stuff as the body's temporary scaffolding. It's this incredible mix of brand new tiny blood vessels, those fibroblast glue maker cells, and a bunch of immune cells keeping things in order. It really is like a bustling construction site, laying the entire foundation for the permanent scar that's about to be built.
Okay, so we've got our two main strategies: the perfect fix of regeneration and the patch-up job of scarring. And we can actually see these two playing out in real time just by looking at how different kinds of cuts on our skin heal.
Now, in the medical field, you'll hear this talked about as healing by first intention versus second intention. It sounds complicated, but it's not. Healing by first intention is what happens with a nice, clean cut, like from a surgeon's scalpel, where the edges line up perfectly. Second intention is for the bigger, messier stuff. Large, open wounds where there's a lot of missing tissue and a big gap to fill. And this table just lays it all out so clearly. Look at healing by first intention. The wound edges are already close together, right? So the body doesn't need to make much of that granulation scaffolding. The result? It heals fast, and you get a small, clean scar. Now look at second intention. The edges are far apart, so the body has a huge construction project on its hands. It needs a ton of granulation tissue. The whole process is much slower, and you end up with a bigger, more irregular scar. Makes perfect sense.
But here's a really important thing to remember. Healing isn't just about the wound. The speed, the quality, the final result, all of it depends on a whole healing equation. And that equation includes factors about your entire body's health and factors right there at the site of the injury. Let's start with the big picture stuff, the systemic factors that affect your whole body. Nutrition is huge. If you're not getting enough protein, vitamin C, or zinc, you're basically starving your repair crew of the supplies they need. Things like blood disorders or chronic diseases like diabetes can also throw a major wrench in the works by messing with blood flow and your immune system. And get this, even your hormones can play a part. Too many stress hormones, for instance, can actually stop that critical collagen glue from being made. Okay, now let's zoom in on the local factors. What's happening right at the wound? And listen up, because this is key. Infection. It is the #1 undisputed champion of delayed healing, period. Poor blood supply to the area is another big one. It's like cutting off the food and oxygen to the workers. Even something tiny, like a splinter or a bit of dirt, can cause problems. And of course, keeping an injury still, like a cast on a broken bone, is so important. So the main point here is that it's a two-part story: your overall health and how the wound itself is treated. Both matter a lot. So when you boil it all down, it comes back to this one single fundamental rule. And this quote just nails it. Complete, perfect repair can only happen in tissues made of those on-call, stable cells and 24/7 labile cells. If you injure tissue made of those retired expert, permanent cells, you're going to get a scar. That's the bottom line. I mean, when you step back and look at it, your body is just this unbelievable self-healing machine, isn't it? Knowing everything that goes into it, the different cell types, the two paths to healing, all the things that can help or slow it down, it really leaves us with one big question, right? Your body is already a master of repair. So how can you be its best partner? Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.